share about it. He said, why don't you share about the North American Mission Board? How many of you have ever heard of the North American Mission Board? A few of you have. We're going to talk about it tonight, okay? I serve as a trustee. We'll talk about what a trustee is in a moment and what our role is. I became a trustee with the North American Mission Board back in 2018. You're usually obligated for a 4-year term, but you can serve up to 8-year terms, and so I've already done my 4, and this past June got reelected to serve another 4, and so in 2026, my second term will be up, and I'll rotate off. I won't be part of the North American Mission Board as a trustee anymore. I don't know how that works. I think you have to wait another number of years. I don't know what the number is. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's kind of like the president, though. You can serve someone else's completion of their term. Like if we've had some that have died, and somebody took over and served out their last 2 years and then served 8 of their own, right? So they've been on the board for 10 years. But I've enjoyed it. I used to think that I knew a lot about the North American Mission Board until I became a trustee, and I realized I didn't know much of anything about the North American Mission Board. So are we good, Jeff? We ready to roll? So good. We appreciate you being here tonight. Let's talk first of all about NAM. How many of you have ever heard that term before, NAM? I know some people, what is NAM? Okay, the NAM actually stands for North American Mission Board. Now, if you'll look under that third heading there, you got NAM and the North American Mission Board, and then I've given you a website. And the reason why I've given you this website is not just for filler, it's there for a reason, because there are actually 2 NAMs, okay? There's the North American Mission Board, which is nam.net, and there's also the National Alliance for Mortgage Brokers, okay? And so there's a nam.com, okay? So you want to go to nam.net if you want to reach the North American Mission Board. I thought it would be real helpful tonight if I gave you some brief history about how the North American Mission Board came into existence. How many of you know we are obviously a Baptist church, and you know what kind of Baptist we are? Have you ever been asked, hey, what kind of Baptist are you? Southern Baptist, okay? Does anybody know when the Southern Baptists came into existence? It's in your notes. 1845, okay? In 1845, the Southern Baptist Convention was constituted, or it formed, okay? That's what it means to be constituted. And the first official meeting was held in Augusta, Georgia. And among the very first decisions the new convention made was to establish 2 mission agencies. One being the Foreign Mission Board. So there's some folks in here that know or knew what the Foreign Mission Board was. But anybody know what the North American Mission Board was once called? No, the Board of Domestic Missions. That was its original name. But in 1874, that isn't 18, right? 1874, the Board of Domestic Missions adopted a new name and called it the Home Mission Board. How many of you remember when it used to be called the Home Mission Board? Okay, it wasn't until 1997 that it actually changed to its current name, the North American Mission Board. Well, what was the purpose? Okay, the Home Mission Board was originally headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Mission Board would eventually be moved to its present location in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is about 30 miles north of Atlanta. You say, why the move? Well, they moved to Alpharetta, which was a growing community, which was a suburb of Atlanta just north again, because they were told by the city leaders and the city developers that they were going to build the brand new Atlanta airport in Alpharetta. So the North American Mission Board says, well, we're going to beat them to the punch. We're going to move out there. That way we'll be ready, right? Because you've got to know that place is going to explode in population out there by the airport. Well, guess what? They did not build the airport in Alpharetta. They actually built it in almost downtown Atlanta, okay? Right outside of downtown Atlanta. Well, anyway, the North American Mission Board is still there. Yet Alpharetta is one of the fastest growing communities in the Atlanta metro area. The name would change once again in 1997 from the Home Mission Board to the North American Mission Board. Why the name change? Here's the reason why. This new name would better reflect who the agency is and its targeted mission area. Now, when we think of North America, what are we talking about? We're talking about the United States and Canada, okay? Everything south would be what? South America, right? Well, Dr. Kevin Ezell has served as the president of the North American Mission Board since 2010. Well, what's the purpose? Why does this mission board even exist? NAM exists to partner with churches, associations, and state conventions in mobilizing Southern Baptists as a mission force to impact North America with the gospel of Jesus Christ through evangelism, church planting, and compassion ministry. Well, how does the North American Mission Board implement or put its plan or its purpose into existence? Well, there are several areas. How is the purpose of the mission to be carried out? There are several strategic ministries in place because if you ever meet Dr. Kevin Ezell, here's what he will tell you. It's about the gospel. It is all about the gospel, right? And that's what it ought to be true in our church as well. Well, let's look at these various strategic ministries. And here comes your first blank, so I hope you're ready for it, okay? I want to talk to you a little bit about the Send Network. The Send Network. What is the Send Network? Now, the reason why I went ahead and put the word send there, because of my country slang, when I first started talking about the Send Network, people were asking me, why are we talking about Send Network, S-I-N? Okay, we're not talking about a network of sin. We're talking about send, S-E-N. Matter of fact, you look at the North American Mission Board logo up there, you see the line and then a little bit of an arrow, then a bigger arrow or the greater than sign or what it looks like? Anybody have any idea what that logo represents? Huh? Kind of like fast forward. I can't hear you, baby. Yeah, Addison's onto something. These actually represent pews. Okay, you've got the pew, and the mission goes forward, right? So you are sending. And when we think about the Send Network, the North American Mission Board does not actually start churches. They partner with churches who start churches. And so you've got this moving forward, okay? That's the whole purpose of that logo. Well, the Send Network is currently led by Vance Pittman, Dr. Vance Pittman. He just came on board, I think, back in April or March. He was a church planter in Las Vegas, Nevada. That church now is running over 20,000 people in their church, and he's been there almost 20 years, but now he's leading the Send Network. Well, what's the purpose or what's the mission of the Send Network? Again, what is Send Network? It's church planting and church planters, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. The mission of Send Network is planting churches everywhere for, it's right there in front of you. Planting churches everywhere for everyone. The goal is to work with Southern Baptists, that's what the SBC stands for, Southern Baptist Convention churches to plant, and we talk about plant, we had this at Vacation Bible School. If y'all remember, does anybody remember the name of the planter in Pittsburgh? Anybody remember Rob Wilton, who is a church planter. He's also the Send City missionary for the city of Pittsburgh. And his church's name is Vintage Church. Does anybody remember that? Nobody remembers that? Okay. But Rob Wilton is the Sin City missionary for the city of Pittsburgh, and he started a church up there. Okay. He is what's known as a church planter. Now, you think about church plants, we're not talking about, okay, we're going to go to Walmart and buy some church seeds, and we're going to put it in the ground, and out of nowhere is going to pop a church. No, a church plant is where you start a church, and a church is started by a church planter who will move to a particular city that God's called him to, and he'll probably live there about a year or so before the church is actually launched, right? And so the church planter would begin to meet people, begin to network with people, begin to partner with other churches along with the North American Mission Board, and begin to meet people, maybe even lead some people to Christ, begin to host Bible studies in his own home, and to where they get large enough that they can now launch out and begin a church. Sometimes those churches still meet in the homes, or they meet like in a YMCA or even a school, or things of that nature. And sometimes they're very fortunate they're able to buy a piece of property and to start a church there. Currently, there are a little over 3,600 North American missionaries. And we're talking about North American missionaries. These would also be church planters, right? Now, where do they find these church planters? Okay, the goal is to start 1,200 churches a year. Now, how many? I'm going to have you math scholars. Those of you that take high school math or grade school math, If you do 1,200 churches in a year, how many is that a month? That Silsbee education is paying off. I'm going to help you out. It's 100. Okay, 1,200 churches a month. How many months are there in a year?
There's 12.
There you go. All right, Jeff, you got a bright group here tonight, brother. So the goal is to plant 100 churches or to start 100 churches a month, okay? But the problem is we don't have enough church planters, right? And Dr. Ezell will tell you, hey, we could start 1,500 churches tomorrow if we had 1,500 church planters. The problem is it's not the resources, but the problem is we don't have enough church planters. But the good news is there are right now several hundred, about 500 or 600 church planters that are going through the assessment process as well as the training process, what's normally called the pipeline, okay, in hopes of that they would become church planters. Now, not everyone who goes through the evaluation or the assessment process actually becomes qualified. Now, we talked about the SEND network. Now, amongst the SEND network, there are 32 SEND cities. Now, what are these SEND cities? Strategic locations located around the U.S. and Canada. There are 4 of those 32 SEND cities in Canada, okay? I know Toronto is one. Calgary is another. And I can't think of what the other 2 are. I can't remember if Montreal is one of them or not. I can't remember. But definitely Calgary and Toronto are 2 of those, okay? You think about all the large cities in America, like San Francisco is a SEND city, L.A. is a SEND city, let's see, New Orleans is a SEND city, Atlanta is a SEND city, Cincinnati, New York, went to New York about 4 years ago, was in Boston just last year, in May of last year of 2021. Let's see. I've been to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I've been there. That's another SEND city. Been to West Palm Beach, Florida, which is another South Florida region. Okay, I can't name all 32 of them off the top of my head, but I can get pretty close. Okay. And each area has a lead missionary or a SEND city missionary. Now, here's what I want to show you. When we think about SEND network. Now, what is SEND network? What I put in the brackets there. It's church planting and church planters, okay? So when you think about SEND network, it's church planting and church planters. And again, the North American Mission Board does not start churches. They do not plant churches. They work with churches who plant churches, okay? Because what good does it do if you start a church today that will not be in existence next year? The goal is to establish these churches, and hopefully in 5 years they're still going strong, right? Now here's some quick stats. 18% of all reported baptisms came from church plants last year. Okay, this is a 2021 stat. Now, Jeff has got something I threw up here for you. Hang on, Jeff, hang on. In 2010, I don't know if you can see this, okay, these screens the projectors are as good as we can get them for now. This is what the North American Mission Board church plant looked like in 2010, okay? Now, slowly scroll from your right to left, Jeff, and look what it is just 11 years later. Is that not amazing? The 2021, 10 years later, or 11 years later, that's an addition of 9,700 new churches. 97 new churches since 2010, which is an amazing thing, right? And that's the reason why it's so important for us to be financially supporting the North American Mission Board. So one strategy that they use, strategic ministry use, is SEND network. And what is SEND network involved in? Planting churches. Now look at this next bullet point on the back page. I thought I included this in the front page. Listen to this. This number is staggering to me. It is estimated that there are 366 million people living in North America. Okay, that would include not only the United States, but also Canada. Now listen to this. Out of the 366 million people living in North America, it's estimated that 275 million are without Christ. Now, do you see the need for starting churches and taking the gospel to all ends of North America and the world? One strategic ministry that the North American Mission Board is heavily involved in is Send Network. Again, church planning and church planters. Another strategic ministry, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit, is Send Relief. Send Relief, that's that next blank, guys and girls. Send Relief. Now, what is Send Relief? Send Relief is meeting needs with the hopes of changing lives. This is led by Bryant Wright, and currently, within the last couple of years, the North American Mission Board has partnered with the International Mission Board, and so now Send Relief is split 50-50. You have Send Relief North America and Send Relief International, right? And so anything that is not in North America would be considered international, okay? That would be South America and even into Europe and beyond, right? And so if there's a natural disaster or things going on that involve the outside North America, that's where the North American Mission Board Send Relief gets involved. Anything happening in North America, that would be United States and Canada, then Send Relief North America would get involved. And you say, well, what do? Well, they go to aid in natural disasters. Like right now, does anybody know where a natural disaster is taking place? Kentucky, right? With all the flooding that's going on in Kentucky and even in Missouri to some degree. And so they're on the ground in Kentucky helping out with folks who are displaced, providing physical things that they might need, blankets and food and things of that nature, but also caring for refugees. Let me talk about that just for a moment. Last May, this past May, we went to Atlanta for a trustee meeting. And in that trustee meeting, we went to a town called Clarksville, Georgia, which is, I don't remember what the distance was. It was a little bit of ways from where we were. And we went to the city, and it's now a refugee city. Does anybody know what a refugee is? Someone who's been displaced from another country, right? And so if you go into this city, as we did, it's a real small town. But what was really shocking to me, being an American, living in the United States all my life, we go into this city, and you look at all the businesses, think about print shops, you think about grocery stores, and everywhere you look, and even though they had English names on them, but they were also written, in a foreign language. You think it wouldn't be like Walmart, okay? There was no Walmart there, but there would be a grocery store that's designed to meet the needs of the people and the culture that were living there. And I'll kind of put this in perspective. We went to one apartment complex. Now think about this. One apartment complex that had 700 units, so 700 apartments. Does anybody want to take a guess at how many? Some of you are going to know because you heard me talk about this before. But guess how many different languages or many different countries were represented amongst that 700 apartments? Try 55. 55 different countries were represented in that apartment complex of 700 units. An amazing, amazing thing. Okay, so it's become a refugee city. Okay, a refugee community. It also helps displaced families. It's also fighting human trafficking. And y'all are familiar with human trafficking, right? Women and children are being abducted and used for some vile things. There's also ministry resource centers that Send Relief is a part of. I'll give you an example that we talk about this Clarksville, Georgia. They have a brand new ministry center. By the way, there are 19 ministry centers around the United States. One just was completed in Laredo, Texas. There's one down there. But right now there are 19 ministry resource centers. And the purpose for those resource centers is to help provide for the needs of those who have needs, right? So you have the storage of various things, but also I think about this one ministry center there in Clarksville. They now have a medical clinic, okay, made up of about 6 or 7 doctors that range anywhere from pediatric to infectious disease to normal sickness that you and I would think about, colds and flus and things of that nature, all the way up to mental health. And all of this is being provided at little to no cost to these refugees, okay? So thank God for these ministry centers. Another strategic ministry is not only Send Network and Send Relief, but also Evangelism. Evangelism, is that a blank? Did I leave it blank for you? Okay, what is the evangelism ministry, strategic ministry? It's gospel training and resources. It's currently led by a man by the name of Tim Dowdy, who also used to be a chairman of the board of the North American Mission Board long before I got there. Now, what's the role? What purpose does the evangelism ministry do? It provides evangelism resources for pastors and churches, and they're also the ones who initiated the Who's Your One emphasis. How many of you ever heard that before? If you remember here, I guarantee you've heard it because you've heard me talk about it many times about the Who's Your One. In fact, we've got the ping pong balls in the back, okay? That is that everybody knows at least one person who needs to come to faith in Christ, and that's the one that you've dedicated to praying for in hopes of sharing the gospel with. And something that's very, very new within the last couple of years is what's known as Gen Send. Gen Send. What is this emphasis? The emphasis on reaching the next generation is led by a godly man, and probably one of the, almost like the Billy Graham, a young Billy Graham of his day, a guy by the name of Shane Pruitt. Any of you ever heard of Shane Pruitt? Is he really? Oh, wow. I don't know if y'all heard what Jeff said, that Shane Pruitt's going to be at Hot Hearts, and you guys are going to love him. An incredible, incredible speaker, and he captures the attention of young people today, okay? Now, here's what I wanted to put asterisks by Gen Send for this purpose. When you graduate high school and you go off to college, you become a candidate to go on a Gen Send mission trip. It could take anywhere from all summer to 6 to 8 weeks, and you will go to one of these strategic cities, and I think there are about 13 different cities that you could possibly go to, and I can't think of all of them on the top of my head, that you could go to and spend these 6 to 8 weeks along with another Gen Send team working specifically with church planners, helping them do various things and learning all about what it means to be a missionary in North America and being a church planner. And here's what I'm praying. I'm praying that God raises up 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 20 of you, okay, that you will take a chance on God, step out on faith, and take an opportunity to participate in one of these Gen Send summer missionary trips, right? And I highly, you have to be in college to do that, right? And so I'm hoping that you'll get involved in that. Now, we also need to see not only Send Network and Send Relief and then evangelism, but also chaplaincy. Chaplaincy. Okay, anybody need help spelling that? I knew you would. CHP. Now, let me rephrase that. CHAP, okay, chap. LAINCY. CHAP LAINCY. Chaplaincy. This has happened to be the committee that I serve on in the North American Mission Board. I am what's known as the Chaplains Commission, and we, right now, it's currently led by retired Army General, Major General Doug Carver, who, by the way, just got his doctorate's degree on top of that, right? He is a neat guy. And what we do is 6 times a year, we just did this Monday. I was supposed to be part of a meeting on Monday, but we had a church member fall ill, and I was not able to participate in this meeting. We had a meeting online. It was a conference call where we endorsed both federal and civil chaplains. The federal would be those who are in the military or working in federal prisons, okay, or part of the federal government working chaplains. You say, what's the purpose of having an endorsement? A lot of organizations now require that you be affiliated or endorsed by an entity, okay, in order for you to get certification for chaplains. And we don't just, hey, bring your piece of paper and stamp it, okay? You've got to go through the proper training. You've got to have the proper background. You've got to be able to give your testimony. You've got to be able to know what the gospel is and be able to share the gospel. And so right now we have roughly 36 or 3,700 chaplains that have been endorsed by the Chaplains Commission of the North American Mission Board. The types of chaplains are in public safety. You think about firemen chaplains. You think about police officer chaplains. You think about corporate. There are some corporations that want chaplains for when there is tragedies and things of that nature. You think about prison chaplains, disaster relief chaplains, health care chaplains, as well as military chaplains. And so there are federal and civil chaplains, but also the chaplains area provides specific training for chaplains. Well, as you can imagine, you've got all of these strategic ministries going on to reach people for the gospel. It doesn't come free, does it? It costs money for training, for facilities, and things of that nature. Where does the funding for the North American Mission Board come from? Anybody know what offering we take up for the North American Mission Board? The Annie Armstrong Easter offering, all right? We take up 3 major offerings a year, right? We do some others too, but these are the 3 big ones. We take up the Annie Armstrong Easter offering, which is about the 6 weeks around Easter. And then we do in September, which is coming up next month, we'll be looking at the Reach Texas, which is the Southern Baptist of Texas Convention offering, which stays here in the state of Texas. And then at Christmas time, does anybody know what that one's called? Lottie Moon Christmas offering, right? So here's the thing. The Annie Armstrong Easter offering is critical. Why? Because 50% of the NAM budget comes through Annie Armstrong. When I say budget, we're not talking about administrative cost. We're talking about church plants and church planning costs, right? We're talking not only about the missionaries, but the expenses that they have for buying buildings and buying places that they can meet, the assessments, the whole 9 yards. This is not administrative costs. This is for church planning and church planners. So 50% comes from the Annie Armstrong Easter offering, and that's the reason why we push it hard every year. 35% comes through the Cooperative Program. How many of you ever heard that term before? The Cooperative Program. Any of you teenagers ever heard of Cooperative Program? You have any idea what it is? Any of you adults know what the Cooperative Program is? Yeah, what we basically do is if we're going to challenge our people to practice the principles of the Bible and to tithe, then we as a church ought to tithe too, right? And the tithe is 10%. That's what the word tithe means. It means 10. And so we give to the Cooperative Program. So what is that? The Cooperative Program is where Southern Baptists pool their money together, okay, because we believe together is better. We can do more together than we ever can alone, right? And so we as Pinecrest Baptist Church with First Baptist and Good Shepherd and Cornerstone over in Coons, and I could go on, 48,000 Southern Baptist churches pull their money together and put it in the Cooperative Program, and it's funded through not only the North American Mission Board, but also the International Mission Board and all of these other entities so that we can make sure that they stay in good shape financially, right? And then we talk about trustees. I'm a trustee, okay, and have been for the last 4 years. What are trustees? What is their role? What do? They represent the Southern Baptist Convention churches. All right, I was waiting on you math wizards to figure that out, okay? So if the first 2 are 85%, what's the last one? That's why I didn't say anything. I figured you guys would figure it out, right? Then I forgot who I was dealing with right here. Trina, you should have tapped them on the head. Did you get it? Y'all go. Addie and Kensington. Were you? Y'all don't know what a calculator is? Oh. Okay. I need to go back to just doing it in your head. Okay. Let me finish up strong, okay? What does a trustee do? A trustee represents Southern Baptist churches by providing oversight and ensuring accountability of leadership and resources. We're basically there. We meet 3 times a year. We meet in February, we meet in May, and we meet in October. I'll be going to Chicago in October, okay? And so we meet 3 times a year, and we go over to make sure, we listen to the various reports to make sure the North American Mission Board is doing what they're supposed to do, okay? But one of my favorite things about being a trustee, and this is what I really wanted to get to share with you, is that on Monday, right after lunch on Mondays of our meetings, we get to go meet with church planners, okay? We get to go to where they are, okay? That's why we go to places other than Alpharetta. We want to go where the church planners are and see what God's doing amongst them and see what kind of needs that they have, because ultimately we as a church want to be involved with skin in the game, so to speak. Don't just send our money, but be involved with skin in the game. Have a participate with church planners. Jeff right now has just recently met with a church planter on the other side of Katy. Is that not right, Jeff? Okay, just north of Greens Point in the Houston area, if y'all are familiar with that area. And we're looking at an opportunity to partner with a church over there and get involved in church planning opportunities over there. Okay, so y'all be praying about that. I'd love to see some of you guys get involved in that along with our adults. Okay, any questions about the North American Mission Board? You feel like you've learned anything? Here's the way I do the adults. This means yes. This means no. This means I don't know. Okay? You learned something? Sure. You learned that out of 100%, if you've used up 85%, you've got 15% left, right?
Sure.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, is I'm one of 6 trustees from the state of Texas. You know why that is? Some states only have 1 trustee, but Texas has 6. Anybody want to know why?
We're a big state.
Because a big state. Yeah, you get 1 trustee for every 300,000 members in that state. So you do the math. Texas. And it's not even close. We're the only state with 6.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. It's not population. It has to do with church membership. Okay, yeah. For example, there's some states that are so small, it takes 3 or 4 states to get to 300,000. Yeah. And so they're considered they don't represent a state, they represent a region. Yeah. Yeah. Is that not shocking? I don't know what I didn't do the math, but if you subtract 275 million from 366 million, how much is that, Shade? Did you give that answer for everybody? What is 366 million minus 275 million? $1 million? All right, get out your phone.
Oh, yeah. She's a little slow. I think she has a little blonde in her, but like...
300, she's going to give us the answer. 366 million. By the way, that's 6 zeros. You could do 366 minus 275.
I thought this was church. Yeah, I thought that was church too.
191 million. Okay. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
91 million. So you can see there's a great disparity. That's a great disparity. So you know what the problem is? Where's the problem lie? The problem lies with us, that we're not getting it done. We're not getting it done. Well, if you do the math, it's estimated that there are 330 million living in the United States. Okay? Does anybody know what the population of Texas is? It's between 29 and 30 million.
I was going to say 4 million, but okay.
Anybody have any questions about the North American Mission Board? Can I answer any questions? How many cows are in Texas? So you guys are asking questions I can't answer. What do you got, Addison? Be careful. You might have to buy something in an auction raising your hand. Any questions? Any adults have questions? Did you hear what Ejer said? That's less than 25% in North America. And again, we're guessing as far as that's how many people are saved. Less than 25%. That's a staggering number, right? But here's the thing. You say, well, man, we'll never be able to win 75% to faith in Christ because there are people born every day and there are people that die every day. We'll never be able to keep up with that. But here's the thing. We won't if we don't witness. It's one person at a time, right? That's how you impact the world with the gospel. It's one person at a time. How many of you know of a friend that you know, if you were to ask them, hey, are you saved? And they'll tell you no. Every one of you knows somebody that way. I know people like that. You ought to begin praying for them. And better yet, you ought to stand up to them. And I say stand up to them in a loving way and share the good news of the gospel. They may be more willing to listen than you think that they are. Any questions? Jeff, did I accomplish what you wanted me to accomplish? I want you to take this, okay? And this is not drawing pictures on. I want you to take this and pray over these strategic areas of ministry with the North American Mission Board. I'll tell you what, one thing that makes me very, very proud, you think about that kind of money that's being thrown into the North American Mission Board. The North American Mission Board, by its own choosing, doesn't have to. I think they have to do it every 3 years, but by their own choosing, they go through an independent audit every year. And every year, we trustees get to see that audit, and guess what? Every year it comes out squeaky clean. Independent audit. This is an outside organization that comes in and they audit the book, the financials of the North American Mission Board, and they're thinking, man, you guys are squeaky clean. And so that makes me proud to serve an organization like that. And you can trust when you give your mission money, it's going to exactly what it was intended to go to. See, I got you out just in time. Let me pray for you, and I'm going to dismiss you. Jeff, you got anything else? Father, we thank you for these young people. Lord, I thank you for our adults that are gathered here tonight. Father, I pray that this was a